Welcome to the Family Pulpit Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ezra Ferguson, and you are maybe our host.
I'm the dad. Just the dad.
The Faja.
The Faja?
The Faja.
Okay, don't forget to lean in here. Welcome to the Family Pulpit Podcast.
Welcome.
Episode
9.
Episode 9.
The answer is 9. As
Okay.
you will soon see,
Yeah?
we are doing compulsory education. And that funny
Correct.
little clip, the answer is 9, that's from a pun show. That's actually directly related to the origin of what we now know as school.
Stuff just
School.
pops into your head and you just let it come on right out, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even matter. No
Nope.
filter. Here's the thought. Boom. I'm just laying it out there.
you go.
Doesn't matter.
Here you go.
You guys pick up what I'm laying down.
Yeah, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. If you're
Okay.
putting down what I'm picking up.
Either way, it's episode 9, and we are up to compulsory government-run education,
Yep.
which is episode 3 in our little mini-series on how we've come to know work today.
Yeah.
What are the 4 main topics that have changed and altered the way that work was originally meant to be, at least in Western civilization? What are those 4 main things?
So yeah, this is like the third of a 4-part series on different things.
First was which?
The first was Plato's.
Plato? Now you're right.
Plato.
Don't worry about it.
Plato's influence on modern civilization.
Yeah,
that's
specifically
what we
the
call it.
institutional church.
And
Platonic
then
influence, yeah.
The Industrial Revolution.
Big
There's
one.
more than one, by the way. If you
Yep.
didn't know that, go check it out. We've got some great stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
We've also, I'd like to mention this after I finish what I was about to say. So what
Okay.
I'm saying is,
Okay.
this is compulsory education, and the 4th topic that we're going to cover next is going to be feminism.
Feminism, yeah. So those 4 things, just in kind of thinking through this, those 4 things have had the biggest influence to change work negatively from what is originally intended to be to what it is that we see today. And I recorded a notes from the pulpit. I'm not sure when these things are going to be released, the episodes.
Yeah.
But in that episode, I was pointing out that I basically just lost my train of thought right there. No, but in the episode that I did,
You senior?
yes, in the episode that I was doing on notes from the pulpit, what I was trying to do is I was trying to rewind and show how important that it was to go back and kind of listen to the podcast that we've developed and how these 4 issues have come up and they've drastically changed the meaning of work today. So we just shouldn't embrace what we inherited. That's what I said in the podcast, is that we've inherited this work idea, work concept today. And a lot of times what Christians will do, well-meaning Christians, of course, they will essentially take the work model today, like what we see, basically we'll call it the 9-to-5 office desk job. Let's just call it that. Mm-hmm. They'll take that and they'll Christianize it. They'll baptize it, or they'll christen it, and they'll say, hey, go out and do all of this work to the glory of God and just go get your job and make money to support your family. And in that, there is truth.
So I do want to say here, this is...
But you jumped in right in the middle of that point. No wonder I lose my train of thought.
This
Go
is
ahead.
just a random thing related to Christianity. I just want to say real quick, some things with Christianity just don't matter, really. Like, some people are, like, controversy about, like, transubstantiation and all.
That does matter, bro.
I know, but, like, it's not going to make difference between heaven and hell. Like, if you all believe... So, we actually had this discussion in a class I had the other day with a homeschool group.
Oh, boy.
Our teacher said, it doesn't really matter what form of Christian you are, if you're Baptist, if you're Catholic, as long as you believe that Christ died on the cross for our sins.
Okay, let me add a point of clarification here, okay?
What's the point of clarification?
The point of
That was
clarification,
true.
there is some truth in there. Let me add a little point of clarification. Hang on. She's right. You don't have to tell me who she was. I don't know who she was. She's right that as long as you believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that he came and lived and died on the cross for your sins, and that you put your faith and trust in him as the only means of salvation, by faith alone, you've asked forgiveness for your sins, and his blood has covered you, and his blood has taken away those sins and sent them as far as the east is from the west. Then yes, do I believe that there are saved people within Catholicism, within Catholic Church? Yes, I do. Do I think that the Catholic Church teaches the pure gospel? No, not unless they denounce the Council of Trent. So I just want to make that point.
Trent?
The Council of Trent. That's another show for another day. But I'm just going to make that point right there, okay? Just for a point of clarification. So it does matter. Listen. What quote?
We use that quote at least once every podcast. That's a podcast for another day. Like I'm writing a list.
We got to get the list written because I did it at least 2 or 3 times on the one I did today. So doctrine does matter. It's not just going to all pan out in the end. What you believe actually does matter, okay? So side note on that. But here we're going to talk about government-run compulsory education, right? So you've been reading a book, which I've already read. I'm reading a book as well, trying to go through some of this history of the education system in the United States. Let's see, by way of general thoughts, just big picture, not specifics. Don't read his 7 points just yet, but just by way of big picture things. What have you encountered or learned about the compulsory government education?
So, before we get kicked off here, I just want to make one real quick mentioning. I just want to say we have a really cool website, familypulpit.com. I'm writing blogs. My sister's writing blogs. More about her in like an author description. We'll write that one day.
Yeah.
And then Dad's writing blogs. Dad's writing more like in-depth things, like faith versus works, big things, topics like that. So go check that out. Familypulpit.com. Your browser will say not secure will work.
No, I fixed it. I put this.
Oh, you fixed
it?
Yep. Nice.
It is now
Never mind.
HTTP.
Your browser will say completely secure. Don't even worry about it.
Yep, it's now HTTPS. It's a secure website.
Yep,
but for some reason, my phone will not update the website to give the latest blog. I don't know why. If you go to your browser on the laptop,
probably because
it's something in my phone.
Your employers don't like you doing stuff.
I don't know. But like if you go to a browser on a website, it works 100% perfect and flawless. It's something about the cache in my phone.
Cash. Yeah. I thought you were meaning like cash money.
No, I don't know. So go ahead. Let's see here.
Okay, so
let's get some big picture ideas.
There's actually his own chapter. It's called "We Need Less School, Not More."
Do you want to tell the author's name that you're reading?
John Taylor. Is it Gatto or Gatto?
I would say Gatto. That's how I would say.
Or Gecko.
I don't think it's Gecko. I call him John Taylor
Geico.
Gatto, who was
sponsor.
a 30-year teacher and won New York Teacher of the Year multiple occasions.
I do want to say something about him that I really like about him. I think it's absolutely hilarious that he uses all these big speeches when he gets teaching awards. He's like he says that he completely hates teaching, and then he gets the greatest teacher of all time award.
He doesn't hate teaching. He loves teaching or loved teaching. He passed away.
He hates the system.
He hates the system, and when they gave him the awards over and over again for Teacher of the Year in New York, and he's in a rough part of town too, like a terrible part of town.
I'm surprised they didn't stone him right there and then. If this was Roman days, he would have been.
He gives. I'm here to accept my award for Teacher of the Year, and by the way, the system sucks.
Here's the heading of the first chapter in this book. It says, "This speech was given on the occasion of the author being named New York State Teacher of the Year for 1991. So he was a generation ago. You little folks won't even remember those days.
You little folks? You mean like your age?
Yeah, like my age.
So again, like without getting too specifics, I'm just talking big picture. What have you learned? What have you learned about?
That's huge. That was before. I think that was before Pokemon came out. Like that's huge.
Just whatever comes in your mind, right?
No, but that was John Taylor Gatto got that award in a world with no Pokemon. Nobody was gonna catch them all.
I don't even know. Get over here to the microphone. You're leaning like a gangster lean over there. Speaking of New York and so
I'm getting
big picture. I want to know big picture ideas. What have you learned?
So the reason why is because I think there's no life in the teachers at all.
There's what?
There's no life in the teachers.
What do you mean?
No life in the teachers. They don't want to be there.
Some of them do. I'm talking about not your opinion.
That's not my opinion.
I want to hear your big picture thoughts on that. Yes, he may be making a generalization that a lot of teachers don't want to be there. They feel like maybe they got into the wrong situation and can't get out.
Huh? You know that one teacher?
What?
He's like, you can't do a number that big. I have no clue what the answer to that is.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, you don't remember that part?
Maybe.
Okay. So go watch that.
Let me lead us in with some big picture thoughts, and then you can jump in, okay?
Okay.
So my big picture takeaway is I did not realize that the government-run, the compulsory education system was developed off of the Prussian model.
No, I didn't know
that.
Little geography tidbit for you. Prussia is not part of Russia. It's actually its own country, and it's part of Germany.
It is Germany. Yeah, Prussia has just basically been renamed as Germany, and that kind of goes and lends itself to how this education model got started.
Yeah, can I say because we just watched a little bit of research on that?
Yeah, if you can
So if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
which I frequently am. This came from a bunch of dudes who wanted to get revenge because Germany got beat by Napoleon.
It wasn't
Not Napoleon
revenge.
Dynamite.
Listen, it wasn't.
watched that, by the
so they were kind of already working on their schooling system, even prior to Prussia's defeat by Napoleon. But it wasn't necessarily revenge. They thought
Maybe they were just depressed because they got their butts kicked.
that was it. Yeah. That was actually it. They thought that the reason why they got beat and humiliated so badly was because their military was weak. And they thought that their soldiers were actually, rather than following orders hang on, don't
They
jump.
had free will.
They do. Don't jump in the middle of the thought. You're certainly welcome to jump in at pause points. I know. We're working as a team here, but I'll give you a chance and you give me a chance. Okay? This is the important point because they thought that the military was weak, kind of doing their own thing rather than maybe necessarily following orders no matter what the orders were.
Yeah, like the captain's going, go, 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 and then they're all like, stay, stay, stay.
So what they did is they decided that in order to rebuild the nation and kind of develop this national military strength, they were going to start a school system that was going to be disciplined, patriotic, and that was going to educate the population. And I think there were some key figures, Baron von Stein, Fitch, and Humboldt. And I think Fitch is a key player there. We're not going to necessarily get down into the weeds on this, but you guys, like I was talking about...
Yeah, we're just going to stay up on the canopy layer.
We're going to stay up on the canopy layer. But as I was talking about in the notes from the pulpit, that if you haven't already listened to, it'll be after this. I'm not sure what the order will be. But some of the things that we talk about, what we're trying to do is get you to think. We're not necessarily going to be college level course in our podcast discussion. We're keeping it on
out here, so.
I mean, we're keeping the cookies on a low to middle shelf.
Yeah,
if
you're let's say the 2-year-olds can't get it, but I think the 5-year-olds might be able to reach up there.
5-year-olds is going to be tough. I think it's probably going to be a 10 to 15 year shelf. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. And
But
some
I think-
10-year-olds might have to climb up just a little bit.
Yeah. Some 10-year-olds might have to grab their stool from when they get their hair's cut.
So Prussia, coming out of the Napoleonic War, do you know how Napoleon, where he got his rise at? Do you know what country he was in? Just tell the folks.
France.
He was in France, yeah. Coming out of the French
we all know
Revolution,
that.
right?
I think we all know.
Coming out of the French Revolution, which was a monumental revolution for a number of different reasons.
For those Minecrafters, not ocean monumental.
Okay. But anyway, in addition to the schooling system, there were some theological beliefs that came out of or were the product of the French Revolution, which will be a podcast for another day. But here what they did is they were trying to save face. Okay, so they're going to get their schooling system. They want patriotic soldiers to be developed from this schooling system, right?
Yep.
It was going to develop national unity, going to cause them to be more disciplined, bring about more order and morality, more conformity to the certain morals, right? So here's what we're going to do, guys. We just got beat so bad, we're going to reform everything.
So worse.
Yeah, so we're going to put everybody in a school system, and we're basically going to pump out little soldiers. And because they were trying to distance themselves from this defeat, they said, you know what, we're no longer Prussia. We're Germany. We want a brand new name. We're going to rebrand. We're going to remodel our entire population, now being schooled, and now we're also going to rename ourselves and rebrand.
I would just like to say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
For clarification, anybody who's seen Santa Claus 2, basically what it was like is when the clone of Santa comes out that thing, they just kept coming. But imagine the Santas
Factory
were
style.
soldiers.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Didn't they do that? Didn't they spit out soldiers in Santa Claus also?
Oh, it's like,
remember?
Oh,
the
yeah,
toy soldier. Yes, you're exactly right. That's a good parallel to think through this Prussian model. So
and then you can also just once again this is actually the second one for Willy Wonka. You can look at the beginning and they're pumping out those kisses.
Okay. The bottom line for both of your analogies that you gave is that yes, the Prussian school model was like a factory model. We're just going to spit out carbon copies of each other. Okay. Mm-hmm. I did have a couple notes here written down on this that it was compulsory attendance. What that means is it was mandatory. Like you have to go to school. Ages 6 to 14. It was centralized and controlled by the state, too, by the way.
I see an opportunity here for the word of the day. Compulsory.
Compulsory.
The word compulsory means mandatory or it's not allowed for not to be like
obligation.
Obligated.
Yeah.
Obligated.
Yeah.
Not that you feel obligated, you are obligated.
So what they apparently did too in this Prussian model is not only did they have certain ages that you had to go to school, not only was it controlled by the state, and they trained the teachers. That's right. That's right.
The 5th grade and like your legit grades like A, B, C.
They separated kids based on age. So we know if you go back and you kind of look at the Little House on the Prairie model, basically everybody's in the same classroom, which I think aids to the fact that you've got self-regulation. So if you've got...
Wait, I would like to ask a question.
You keep diving in the middle.
I'm sorry, these are FAQs. I'm the FAQ section here.
All right, FAQ, go.
Okay. In the days of Little House on the Prairie, was that a bad school setup? Was that like as worse as our compulsory education? I know it was better, but is it like... Is homeschooling better than that, or is homeschooling
I think the responsibility for education falls on the parents. Okay, so yes, the Little House model, it starts down this path of government-run compulsory education. Of course, the time period that they're in is 1800s. Yes, there was a government back then. Remember that they got moved off of their house. They got moved off of the original plain house because the government had moved the boundary for the Indian reservation.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So their model, what I'm trying to get at is that's the one-room schoolhouse model, and that's where all ages are together. What I was getting at is it's kind of self-regulatory. So that means if you've got an 8, 9, or 10-year-old boy that's acting up and causing problems, your older boys, 15, 16, 17, whatever, they're going to come along and they're going to help control those kids. The smaller kids are now going to be kind of in fear of the bigger kids, and the bigger kids should strive to be a role model for the younger kids. But that's the one room.
Why would you want the little kids to be scared of the big?
Because they're going to get a whooping if they're acting up.
From the big kids?
From the big boys. That's right. It's self-regulating.
What?
Yes.
That's like weird. I can't ever...
It's not weird.
You know what? I can't ever imagine a big kid at a public school these days actually volunteering to discipline a child. And if they did discipline it would be a wedgie hanging.
It's not exactly discipline like, hey, come watch the chalkboards. What it is the bigger kid would go, at their break time, the big kid would go, oh, hey, you remember when you kept interrupting us and causing the school day to be longer? Now I'm going to pound you, right? Like, it's self-regulatory. And the older boys...
That's bullying.
It's not... Well, you know what? Sometimes the self-regulation helps if it's done in a positive way. Not if it's done negatively just because you don't like someone.
Like, hey, I don't like the way you look funny, so I'm going to punch you, okay?
So what happens is...
Dress better next time.
What happens is this Prussian model starts to be a gather interest or gain interest by people in the United States. And chief among them is Horace Mann. Now, John Taylor Gatto, we should say we've got 2 books here by his. We got one called Dumbing Us Down. Is that what it is?
That's what I'm reading.
Is it Us Down? Dumbing Us Down. And then the other one
What
is...
do you think it was? Dumbing Them Down?
I'm just looking over there and I'm glancing and all I see is dumbing and down. I don't see the us. Yep. The other book is Weapons of Mass Instruction.
I think that's a good play on.
I do like that title. So what he points out is that he doesn't actually think that Horace Mann made this trip to Prussia. He thinks that it actually didn't happen. And even if it did happen, he didn't go over there and study the school system like he was talking about. So Horace Mann, Horace, Mann with 2 N's, allegedly, maybe he did, I don't know, makes a trip to Prussia in 1843, and he's the head of the school board in Massachusetts.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys have the time stones from Sonic CD, but if you do, go back and check it out, but if you don't...
What? What does that have to do with anything?
You just said we can't know that for certain, but like if somebody has the time stones from Sonic CD, they can be. They can just go back and check it out.
What? What are you talking about?
You don't know anything about your video game history, do you?
Bro, I tell you what. Maybe you should be public schooled. I don't know.
No, I'd probably get beat up I'd probably get self-regulated every day.
Yes. Hey, you kid. Remember when you went on that, when you stood up and gave a speech for 30 minutes? It held us over in class. We're going to pound you. So Horace Mann is the father of the modern schooling system in the United States. So he wants to adopt this Prussian model. He wants to bring it in. He wants to unfold it in the United States. He wants to import it in. He wants the normalized schools for teacher training. He wants state funding of these local schools. He wants everybody to go to school automatically and have this age grading. It's basically the exact same thing as Prussia, right?
These kids, they're going to go home with a little brother who's homeschooled or something. They're going to be like, hey, I'm going to beat you up because you didn't go to my school.
So what was the big difference between Horace Mann's idea of importing the Prussian model into the U.S. versus the Prussian model over there in Germany? What was the main difference? Prussia
the Prussia was for army
and what was the United States to be?
instruction.
To do what? Produce
Education.
what? Produce what? No. Education wasn't the
employees.
Employees.
You said it like that.
Workers.
Employees.
Yeah, employees.
Or you can say it like employee.
The Prussian model being imported into the United States was not to create soldiers, nationalistic soldiers, but it was to create compliant workers, right? That was the goal. And you can go start scratching your head and go, why would we want compliant, obedient workers in the United States? Why would we need that? What?
This takes us directly to
Are you going to read that? Not yet.
the
Hold on.
7 lesson school chief.
I know.
Our
Hang on.
first featured chapter in the book. Dummy.
We'll get there in just 1 second. I'll get you your lead in. You can do that. Okay.
Okay.
So think for a minute. Think about what we've talked about on our podcast or what
Yep.
we've talked about just amongst us. Why would the United States need a system to create workers? A schooling system to create workers, to essentially just keep pumping out workers. Why would they need that?
Because the rising field of technology. You just have to type.
The Industrial Revolution. Everything that we just talked about in the
so I was
last
writing away.
everything we just talked about in that last podcast in this series about the Industrial Revolution coming online and people getting ripped from their homes and going to the factories. They had to do something to replicate this.
Third one's my favorite.
Third one what?
And I'm living the fourth one. The third Industrial Revolution. My favorite.
Oh, the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, I always had an interest in early technology and microchips.
Yeah.
I still want to learn about. You know what? Wait, I just want to mention something. I actually have an eyewitness book on this subject. I'm going to flip through that.
On what subject?
Electronics.
Oh, on electronics. Okay, I thought you were going to say
Electricity and electronics. Oh, dude, if I did, I would have shoved it down your throat
What?
by now.
So there's the foundation for it, right?
Hopefully, you find paper appetizing.
Yeah, it's delicious. I love the
cardboard.
chemicals and taste of China.
Yeah.
So, there's the foundation for the government system, the government compulsory run education system in the United States. It's imported from the German model or Prussian model. I'm going to get to your 7 lessons. Please hold on just a second.
Okay.
And it's not for the point of creating soldiers, but it's for the point of creating workers. So if we think back to those episodes that we did and the Industrial Revolution, and we saw how the husband or the father, they were taken from the home to go find jobs. They moved from their farm. Most people sold their farms and moved into the city.
That was horrible.
It was terrible because you got the dad that's leaving, then the mom leaves, and the kids. We also saw that the kids were leaving and being put in factories as well.
And then the entire family was stranded on the street. And then when they find somebody with a Happy Meal from McDonald's driving by, they're like, "Can I have a crumb?
May I have a crumb?
Feeling weak." Yeah, they definitely had McDonald's back then. Although back then it was probably Mick Rockefeller.
John D. Rockefeller was actually
an
one
endorser. He
was
endorsed
actually
it.
one of the people that Horace Mann
Because he
brought
was-
on
because he was a
to
large
buy into this.
because he was a large influencer. He
had
one of the
money.
ones who chiefly spread it. Yeah, he was just like, you know what? You don't want to go to school.
Do you know who
I'll
else?
Give you $1 billion. Go to school.
No, they weren't doing that. They weren't paying them to go to school.
They were paying
They were
them to
using
spend
their
their
money to set up the education system. But you know who else was along with Rockefeller?
Wait a minute. Elon Musk.
No, Carnegie.
Oh, of course. The two competitors. Wait, that means that they have a mutual friend.
Well, they did. They were competitors. You know, if you go back and watch The Men Who Built America, that
Dude,
docudrama.
Docudrama. Also, is that even a word? Docudrama, the word
Yes,
of the
it's
day.
a word. It's not the word of the day. That's compulsory. Hang in there with us.
Okay.
So what you had was Horace Mann goes and he finds funding for this via Rockefeller, which makes perfect sense
It wasn't very
as it
fun.
relates to the Industrial Revolution. Because if you're a millionaire or in today's dollars billionaire magnate and you're building businesses and you need factory workers and they're refusing to come or they're going on strike, then someone comes along and says, you know what, we need a schooling system to start pumping out little factory workers. Well, you're like, yeah, this is exactly what we need.
You know what? And if you actually think about that, that sounds logical. That's the next logical step. If you want to go that direction.
It is. So by the late 1800s,
But
are you going to let me get factual or no? What?
So what we're doing is we're homeschooling, we think, is better than compulsory.
Think?
We think.
No,
Just
we
kidding.
don't. We know because you're not being forced to do anything. May I ask you a question? What time did you start your school lessons this morning?
7:30.
What time did you finish your school lessons this morning?
8:15 tops.
Okay. Enough said. Okay. And how many subjects was that you went through?
Like 2.
2 or 3 or 4?
Actually, I did.
Did you read any books after that?
So listen, the actual written ones.
Yeah.
Those are the only ones I count as subjects.
Did you read any books after that?
I read a little bit of my science book.
Oh yeah, the one that's part of your schooling, or the one that you read on your own?
The one that I read on my own.
And what's it teaching you today?
I learned about. I think that was respiratory was either today or yesterday, and then
The respiratory system?
No, like just respiration.
As a 10-year-old.
In general, and then what was after that? I learned like 2 or 3 other things after that. Oh, carbon cycle, and then I was just sometimes like I get into a rhythm because I treat each page, double page, as a chapter.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like one specific subject.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And then in one big subject.
So we might be asking, how do we pull all this together from the schooling system that was created? Horace Mann, we know John Dewey, by the way, has an involvement in this as well. But Rockefeller, Carnegie, these are the big players. How does this align and fit in with the Industrial Revolution? Well, by the late 1800s or so, the factories, the railroads, the bureaucracies, they all needed punctual employees. They all needed people to show up and start working. They didn't want people striking. Do you remember when we watched that show and they
didn't want them socializing?
What was the guy? I've got a book on this.
Oh wait, I do want to say something. So actually, this brings me into something. A major point that is given throughout the chapters of Dumbing Us Down is that school is a network, not a community, contrary to popular belief. Because a lot of times we think that networks are the same thing as communities, but in networks, it doesn't use all of your body's capabilities. Let's just put it that way. Like in a network, you're not socializing. In a network, you're not like you're doing one specific task. In other words, a network is infinitely niche.
Well, that's interesting.
But a community is like the way you live. It's like it uses every part of your body. Like a community, I think this actually is a connection I just made. A community would be what God wants us to be. Because God wants us to use everything He's given us to use.
Homeschooled right there.
Boom! That was a connection right there. I hadn't even thought
nice
of that
work,
before.
buddy. So anyway, the connection. They want punctual, obedient workers. They want clerks, foremen. They really want to. What they want to do is they want to kind of have a bunch of trained monkeys who are going to line up and come to work when they need to. Remember what we were just.
Hey! You're going to encourage those atheists who think that we evolved from monkeys.
That's true. When we were listening,
Origins video.
The Origins video. When we were listening to the guy that was talking about the Prussian model, and he said that they set these kids up for boredom. They basically faced them in one direction for the whole day. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he's like, they sat there. You got to be quiet. Don't ask questions. You've got to sit there for hours on end and just take this instruction in. We'll tell you when you can go to the bathroom. We'll tell you when you're done. We'll ring the bell and let you know when to go to your next class. Which, by the way, when they're working in the factory system, old Fred Flintstone, and the bell rings and you got to be at work on time, or the lunch bell whistle blows, or the end of the day whistle, you've already been trained for that because you sat in the school chair for all that long.
There was a whistle from Paul's work early on in Little House on the Prairie. Like they pulled something
that's right.
and it let steam out.
Yep.
Also, I do want to know, where did they get that constant supply of steam?
That's a great question. I actually don't know.
I'm sure they projected it through this tiny hole with pressure.
So back to John Taylor Gatto. Let's see here. I'm going to lead into your 7 points of what he actually was He's going to give some examples of what he was forced to teach. He points out that the Prussian system, it was designed to produce obedience, not intelligence. This is true. There's no free thinkers. They try to say that you have free thinkers today, and they put them in gifted classes, but really you're constrained again. Listen, could you give me, I don't know if you can do this or not.
Probably.
Can you give me 3 inventors that didn't go to what we would call regular public school today, or maybe they dropped out? Do you know of any? Do you remember those at all? Or in any of your studies that you've come across? Edison?
I could probably say some scientists.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know if these scientists necessarily did, but they're pretty big scientists that probably didn't. I don't think Einstein finished school.
Okay.
I don't think he did, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure.
Let's double check. Let's get some.
Check that.
So your first one that you're saying is Einstein.
Potentially Einstein. I don't even know if they had school back then, but Sir Isaac Newton is considered the greatest scientist of all time. Aristotle, he actually was one of the first thinkers, Socrates actually. This was all recorded by Plato, by the way. Plato. This was all recorded by him in his book, The Republic. I think it was Socrates that actually said, one guy asked him, if we were to do this, if we were to have this system, this network, as we just said, how would you do this? And he said, I'm going to say it. And I think he said something like, but you're not going to like it.
Oh, yeah. I think I read
that
that
was
quote.
A really cool
I read that quote. So, Einstein did go to school. However, he didn't.
Out.
He didn't like. No, I think he finished, but he didn't.
I remember.
Let me
now.
finish,
so
boy.
He was really good at it, but he was like disrespectful.
Listen, here are the facts about him because I just looked it up. He didn't like the rigid schooling system in Germany. He clashed with the teachers. Contrary to a common myth, he did not fail math. He actually excelled at it. But he renounced his, by the way, German citizenship. Hint, 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 hint.
What do you mean he renounced it?
He renounced his German citizenship. That means he said, I'm no longer a German citizen at age 16, and he moved to Switzerland, in part to escape the schooling environment.
So he was actually
like,
a genius related to our podcast.
By the way, let me just point out that the school system that Einstein left in Germany
was completely different from the one today.
No, it was the Prussian school system that was developed and the one that was imported into the United States. Who was your next one? Newton?
Yeah, he was an absolute genius. Like, he made the 3 laws of motion. He discovered gravity. Well, actually, Socrates did, I think.
So, go ahead. Keep talking. No, you're good.
Then,
Newton attended school to the age of 12.
So, I would like to mention, I think
he wasn't
it's
ever considered a good student.
I want to say this is.
He did go to some college. The college that they had back then was a little bit different. We should probably say a lot different than what we have today.
It's actually hang on. What I'm saying right here was I think it's absolutely hilarious for you physics nerds. Not saying I'm one. I know very little about it. But I think it's funny that the two people I mentioned, Einstein and Isaac Newton, were intertwined because Isaac made the laws of motion. I almost said laws of motion. No, he made them.
Made?
Well, he wrote them in the way that he wrote them. I mean, like, he was the one who wrote them.
Okay. He wrote them down. I get what you're saying.
Like, God didn't grab a leaf and decide to write it down.
I know, I understand.
And then Einstein decided what to do whenever that goes to an extreme, like with light and such.
Oh, we're getting that static from the phone. I got you.
I
was trying to find a list because I know in these...
Bro.
I know in this book. Let me see right
We'll do a podcast on the negative effects of the iPhone.
In Gatto's book on weapons of mass instruction, he goes through and actually lists a ton of people who had dropped out of school and became.
Oh, he did. I remember you showing me that.
Yeah, I was reading through that. Saying that I'm not saying you should drop out of school.
There's one guy. Well, these days.
I'm not saying you should drop out of school, but
I was talking about the one kid who dropped out and made the engine.
Yes.
The engine modification.
Yeah, he made the engine modification.
Wasn't it where like you had a fuel that was like a banana peel or something?
No, he discovered. So he was in school and he realized that you could get more gas mileage out of your vehicle than what people were making in Detroit. You know, like what cars were coming out. So he's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna build a system that'll make it more efficient with no carbon emissions. So he dropped out of school and started installing this for $25,000 a piece, and became a multimillionaire by the age he was 21.
I do want to say this is hilarious. Because I just talked about the carbon cycle, and one of the things was burning fossil fuels, and then, which also aren't fossils, we'll talk about that. I think we already did talk about that.
Don't derail us into science too much.
I'm not. But one of the very large things that contributed to the excess CO2 in the atmosphere was cars.
Allegedly. So back to Gatto, back to this Prussian system. It was designed to produce obedience. It was a form of social engineering, not liberal or what you might call free education.
They were hacking?
When Horseman imported it, he repackaged it into moral language. In other words, we've got to have education in order to support democracy. But they were keeping the control parts still in place. So the American system, it inherited the same DNA as Prussia, centralization, compulsion, conformity, but then they kind of changed it for different purposes. They used it for their own purposes.
So he was a liberal?
Who? No, that's not what that means exactly there.
Because he was like, education for democracy, more like liberal.
No, that's not exactly what it means here. Okay, so there we've got the foundation for it. Now, why don't you read for us what
We'll wrap
in his
up
experience?
soon.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up. Read in Gatto's experience what he was. Go ahead and tell us what these 7 are. Before I want to hear exactly from his words.
Okay, so they don't start here.
What these 7 lessons are. I see that it's number 1 there, but I want to know what they are before you start reading the list.
So it says here, teaching means different things in different places, but 7 lessons are universally taught from Harlem to Hollywood Hills.
Okay.
They can constitute a national curriculum you pay for in more ways than you can imagine, so you might as well know what it is. You are at liberty, of course, to regard these lessons in any way you like, but believe me when I say I intend no irony in this presentation. These are the things I teach. These are the things you pay me to teach. Make of them what you will.
So this is
one of the speeches. This is the one I read it
yes.
from. I still think that's hilarious.
This is what you pay me to teach. And this is in his Teacher of the Year award.
Yeah, you got to think so many people started getting read.
Yeah, I've thought that before too.
I'm sure like the whoever the president, probably like Obama or something.
No, back then in '91, that would be
Like
George Bush and then Clinton.
I was thinking
Clinton comes
Ronald
in.
Reagan.
Clinton comes in '92 and '96. So '91 would have been Bush. I don't know what the month was, but it would have been during the Bush into Clinton administration.
Yeah, my history hard drive needs updated. We'll work on that.
So go ahead with the 7 things that he tells the teaching administrators what they pay him to teach. And speaking to the microphone.
So the first thing is confusion. And the
Do you wanna,
second thing
is there anything from that confusion that you want to highlight? Like anything he says? He's paid to teach confusion.
he says
anything important that you...
Everything I teach is out of context. I teach the unrelating of everything. I teach disconnections. I teach too much. The orbiting of planets, the law of large numbers, slavery, adjectives, architectural, drawing, dance, gymnasium, choral singing, assemblies, surprise guest, fire drills, computer languages, parents' nights, staff development days, pull-out programs, guidance with strangers my students may never see again, standardized
those last few words.
age segregation, unlike anything seen in the outside world. What do any of these things have to do with each other?
Okay, so
I actually don't have any clue half of what I just said, but I said it.
But I heard 3/4 of it, and he's exactly right. So here's what his number 1 point is there: confusion. He's teaching confusion because everything he teaches is disconnected. In other words, if you're being taught math or you're being taught science, it is disconnected from how does this relate to history? What's the progression here? Or you're thrown into a world history class. So like, did you start from the very beginning? Like, where are we jumping in at? We're talking about U.S. history. Did you create this foundation for me to show me how we got to where we are today? Which is part of the reason we have this podcast, right? If you go back and listen, we're giving you, we're unfolding a history. It's foundational. It really is.
I think we're working on the septic system at this point.
What?
In the house. We're building a house, and I think we're on the septic system.
In this metaphorical house, we're building the septic system?
Yeah.
Are you saying that government-run compulsory education is the sewage of the house?
Yes, that actually, you framed that perfectly. Okay, so the second lesson he teaches is class position. I don't think much needs to be said about this. This is just the grades.
Can you please enunciate what was number 2?
Class position.
Class position.
Yes.
What he means by...
I teach is class position. I teach the students must stay in the class where they belong. I don't know who decides my kids belong there, but that's not my business. The children are numbered so that if any get away, they can be returned to the right class. Over the years, the variety of ways children are numbered by schools has increased dramatically until it is hard to see the human beings plainly under the weight of numbers they carry. Numbering children is a big and very profitable undertaking, though what the strategy is designed to accomplish is elusive. I don't even know why parents would, without a fight, allow it to be done to their kids.
Okay, when you read these other ones, kind of slow down just a bit.
Okay.
So what he's saying is, he's got 30 kids assigned to his class. He doesn't know why they were assigned there. It was random. And all he knows is he has to be sure that 30 people show up every single day, regardless.
3 or 30? If it was 3, I'd be a little concerned.
30. I may have said 3, but I'm in 30.
Yeah. Okay,
so you got to stay in your class.
So
how you're ordered in this class, it doesn't matter. It's arbitrary.
Not much needs to be said about this one. Number 3, indifference. This is basically part of the robot thing. I'm just gonna say this.
Okay.
Basically, what he's saying here is he means that like you're robots and you don't question anything. Like AIs, they're not gonna question anything, at least at this point, until they turn to AGI. Go watch our AI podcast.
Okay.
The 4th lesson he teaches is emotional dependency.
Okay, rather than independent,
Yep.
you're going to be dependent. Yep. Emotional dependency.
So, by stars and red checks, smiles and frowns, prizes, honors, and disgraces, I teach kids to surrender their will to the predestinated chain of command. The fifth one.
Do we want to talk about that? So I read something.
Much needed to be said. It basically means if the teacher's happy, you're happy. If the teacher's mad, you're mad.
Well, you're getting rewarded on the amount of information that you can essentially pump and dump.
That's what I mean.
So if you study up for a test, it doesn't matter if you learned anything. If you threw a couple facts in your brain and you're able to write them down on paper to answer a question, and you're given a star or a check or a good grade or an attaboy on the back, then that's considered success. And if you can't do that, you're considered to be a failure and that you're not smart or dumb. Then what they do, because you didn't pass the test by pumping and dumping facts in your brain that you have disconnected from reality, really, then they're going to put you in a dumbed down class.
Yeah.
Did you know that when I started my public school education that they put me in the lowest possible class that they had? That's right. They started me out. They started me out in a class to where half the kids in the back were asleep. I came from a Christian school. And they said, "Oh, your Christian school, your private education, this is directly from the guidance counselor at the school. Most likely, you're probably behind everybody else in the class. So rather than not putting me in an advanced class, that was the discussion. And it wasn't rather than not putting you into the middle of the road. It was we need to put you in basically the bottom of the barrel class. Did you know?" Why are you worried about your mic?
I'm just saying my headphone went into like a Windsor knot or something.
Okay, well, it's in a Windsor knot. But what I'm saying is that it's so arbitrary. And then when I'm in there, and I'm not in any way trying to brag, but the teachers immediately realized, hey, wait a second, this kid actually wants to do his schoolwork. He's throwing the grading curve off for everybody else in the class. So they started grading me separately. Rather than having my grade that would influence the grades of the rest of the class, they just pulled mine out separately. I'm like, here's your grade, and then they graded everybody else. These kids didn't care. They were already told by the system that they were dumb. You're dumb. You're in this classroom and you're dumb. We have low expectations out of you. We don't plan that you're going to make anything out of your life because you don't want to memorize facts and pump and dump. Okay?
So the dumb kids were actually the smart kids.
And I spent my class, not necessarily, they were the unapplied kids. They didn't apply themselves. I spent my time in there.
Because they realized that the system was faulty.
They weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about the fact that the system had told them they were dumb and worthless, and they had accepted that for themselves. So I spent my time in the classroom in 8th grade helping these kids to realize, no, you can do this. Helping them on their schoolwork.
Oh, you did that?
Yes.
That was nice.
Go to the next point.
I'm pretty sure half the kids in my class of co-op don't even want to learn.
Well, that's their parents'
one specifically
responsibility. What number are you up to? 5 out of 7?
Yes. The 5th lesson I teach is intellectual dependency. Now, this is a large one. This is one of the things that make homeschooling completely different from public school, is because homeschooling, what it does is it makes you learn the basics, and then you basically learn how to know what you want to learn.
Well, because not all homeschool is the same. So what we allow you to do is we're going to have you go through the basics, right? Which isn't going to take you long. For your grade level, you can go through the material that they want you to learn very quickly. And then we give you freedom to learn other things. And that doesn't mean you're not sitting around like in the middle of your school day, like, oh, I'm just going to be playing video games and eating Cheetos or Doritos over here.
Well, I don't know if we've ever bought a bag of Cheetos.
That's true.
We have bought Doritos, but not recently.
Grandmother, but we eat them there. Maybe sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But your fingers get orange.
Occasionally. Yeah, that's why Cheeto
But what we've allowed you to do is, and Bella too, is to take the initiative to learn, to read.
Mm-hmm. We enjoy. I want to say this. I think this is hilarious because Bella's reading more fiction.
Mm-hmm. She always has.
She is more fiction. She's actually writing a fiction blog.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like the Adventures in Odyssey by Focus on the Family. That's the company, by the way. It's not a guy's name. Isn't not.
Okay, so tell me more about this intellectual dependency before you.
Family.
Anything else about it?
So basically, it means you get told mandatorily compulsory. If you will, you might not, but if you will, compulsory. They're basically compulsoryizing you.
Yeah.
If that's the correct tense.
If I were going to, I don't remember his point here from Gatto, but if I were going to summarize what he means by intellectual dependency, I would say you are depending on someone else, and whatever class you're in and whatever grade you're in, that's the max.
Right.
Like you're maxed out.
I think
You're not free to go read more or to study more.
If I'm not incorrect, I think that this is that legit grades, not like 5th grade, but like A, B, C, D, skip, E, F.
For what, 6? 0.6? Mm-hmm. What's 0.6?
No, 0.5. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
Intellectual dependency is essentially that. 0.6 is provisional self-esteem, which I'm just going to say this. I'm going to predict. I think this is what Dad was saying. They tell you you're dumb, then you're automatically dumb.
What does it say? What does it say?
It says,
just give us
if you've ever tried to wrestle into line kids whose parents have convinced them to believe they'll be left in spite of anything, you know how impossible it is to make self-confident spirits conform. Our world wouldn't survive a flood of confident people very long, so I teach that a kid's self-respect should depend on expert opinion.
Right.
My kids are constantly evaluated and judged. Okay, so if you want to talk about this,
so if he thinks as a teacher, and remember, he's presenting this as negatives. This is what you guys pay me to do. He didn't actually do that, by the way. He tried to help these kids, but so he's essentially saying you're only as smart as I tell you that you are. So if I reward you and tell you, hey, you're a bright young man. Hey, you're doing really well. Hey, this. But if I leave you behind because I've got 30 other kids that I need that are yearning for my attention and I neglect them, and maybe this kid over here is extremely talented, but because he's shy, or maybe he's not able to pump and dump these facts like that, so he doesn't do really well, and so I think he doesn't need my attention, then you understand what he's saying?
This is why. I think we discussed this before. One-on-one tutoring is the best way to learn like that.
That's actually true. We did talk about that before.
Because you get focused, you're treated as an individual, not a number or an asset.
Side note, this brings up my point about the college when I was talking about Einstein and Newton, which were good examples, by the way. They actually did schooling. I'm not sure what exact age they would have dropped out at, but that college system had a tutor system. Do you remember we watched C.S. Lewis?
Yeah, yes. He was tutored by that one guy. Dude, that guy was a genius.
So what they did, right? They set up the one-on-one tutor system. You're going to go and he'd live with the tutor and his wife, and he was taught, which I think, we talked about this in that
great situation.
We talked about this in that other podcast, but I think that one-on-one situation needs to be from a parent to the child. That's the actual model.
As the man who studied and played him in that docudrama, you might call it, he said, walking and talking is not a good combination, but breakfast and a book is the greatest combination.
There you go. Okay, what's point 7? The last thing
So the last thing we're going to cover probably after this, we're probably going to wrap things up.
We are? Yep.
The outro, the 7th one. This is actually going to leave this podcast on an eerie tone. One can't hide.
Okay, what did he mean by that?
I teach students that they are always watched, that each is under
Big
constant
brother.
surveillance by me and my colleagues.
Right.
There is no private spaces for children. There is no private time. Class change lasts exactly 300 seconds to keep promiscuous fraternization at low levels. That's 5 minutes, I believe. Students are encouraged to tattle on each other or even to tattle on their own parents. Of course, I encourage parents to file reports
That happened during COVID, by the way.
About their own, let me turn the page here, I've got sticky fingers, child's waywardness too. A family trained to snitch on itself isn't likely to conceal any dangerous secrets. Now, I do want to say, this is directly related to the Prussian example of original compulsory education, where they were making tools for army. They don't want somebody making a nuclear bomb in the army.
Yeah, you're right. They didn't want them doing their own thing.
Because the kids, if they've been taught to tattle on their parents at school with something minor, they're going to tattle on their parents with something major.
Okay, so let's wrap this up, and then I think I'm going to point out a couple names here at the end. But basically what we've got is that this government-run compulsory education that was imported from Prussia, which, by the way, for those of you that are listening to this...
The 1.5.
You may want to... We may be up to 2, I don't know. You may want to make the connection, go and look this up on your own, and see the connection between Prussia coming out of the defeat from Napoleon... Mm-hmm. Changing its name and rebranding to Germany, and then the education system that they had to try to develop a strong military and what it produced, aka World War I and Adolf Hitler.
So I want to have one question real quick, an insightful question, and then we're gonna turn it off. We're gonna outro, and then we'll be done. And then you guys can go eat whatever meal you're on in the day.
What point you got? What point?
Okay, so I wanted to say, Give me 10 seconds of silence to think about what it was because I forgot.
While you're thinking about that, let me hit a couple of these names. So while he's thinking about his final point, and we're going to wrap this up. I gave you a few names already to look at. Let me finish this. You got Horace Mann, Henry Barnard.
Bernard.
I don't think that's a Bernie. I think that's a Barney. Bernard, Edward Thorndike. These are key names that set up these systems, and they were doing it for the purpose of creating these factory workers.
Guys, it's
John
I-K-E,
Dewey,
not Y-K-E, just saying.
G. Stanley Hall, Andrew Carnegie, John D. We already talked about that. They were central.
Can I say some more?
I'm not sure.
Elwood P. Cubberley.
And then
James Conant, Ralph Tyler, and then R.L.
No,
Dabney.
These are the voices that were critical of the. These were counter voices to the systems that were being set up. That was R.L. Dabney.
If John Turrigatto is not at the bottom.
No. This is looking at his viewpoint. Okay, this is the question that I'd ask. Okay, what do you know your last point here?
So what I was gonna say is, this is kind of a related question. This goes back to the Prussian revenge story, or the Prussian power story. Let's call it the PPS. Let's call it PPS. We'll go back to our PPS.
Okay.